Hello there, and welcome to Sleepy Cosmic Lullaby. Tonight we ask a question that sounds almost frightening if you rush the words. How dark, truly, is the far side of the moon? And yet the closer we look, the more the fear dissolves into something as familiar as the lamp on your bedside table, the half of it turned away from you. The half you have never once had to check, because you already know, without looking, exactly what shape it is holding in the dark. It is not an unknown thing wearing the mask of darkness. It is only the far curve of something you have known your whole life, resting where you cannot currently see it, the way the back of a chair still holds its shape in a room with the lights turned off. We have 4 unhurried regions to drift through tonight, and you may let go of every one of them, because I will hold them for you. First, we sit with the lamp we know, the near side of the moon, the face that has watched over every human who ever lived, and the old habit of calling its hidden twin dark, as though that word meant something to fear. Then, we feel the gentle turning that keeps one face toward us always, a motion so patient it takes the whole span of a month to complete, and so smooth you would never feel it even if you were standing on the moon's own dust. After that we travel, softly, to the true night side itself, not an abyss, but a real and solid landscape, cratered and pale, that simply takes its turn in darkness, the way every object does, the way your own back is turned from the light right now, pressed into the pillow. And last, we rest in how small we are, and how lucky to have ever glimpsed that hidden face at all, and how a handful of patient machines, sent farther than any hand could reach, once turned their eyes toward the back of the lamp and carried home a picture, so that no part of our nearest neighbor stays a mystery anymore, only a room we have visited once and remember fondly, the way you might remember the far corner of a house you grew up in, seen just once by lamplight from a doorway. If a story like this helps you find your way toward sleep, a like or a subscribe helps this channel reach someone else who is also lying awake tonight, somewhere, staring at their own ceiling. But that is only if it feels easy. Nothing here asks anything of you. There is nothing here to hold on to, and nothing you need to remember. Let your shoulders ease down into whatever is beneath them. Let your jaw loosen, your hands grow heavy, your breath find its own unforced rhythm. Let your eyes close if they have not already. Settle in. Let's begin. And so the evening settles the way it always does, the room folding down around you, until there is only this small pool of warmth where you are lying, the blankets drawn up to your shoulders, your breath finding its own unhurried rhythm without you having to ask it to. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is nothing left on the list of the day that still requires your hands, your voice, your attention. Only this bed, this ceiling, this hour that belongs to no one but you. Drifting further from the noise of the day with every breath you let go. Beside you, the lamp is on. Just the one lamp, its shade the color of weak honey, its light spilling low across the pillow and no further. A small sun that has agreed to shine only exactly as much as this room requires, and not 1 inch more. You know this light. You have known it every night of your life in one form or another. The bulb behind the fabric, the warm circle it draws on the ceiling, the way it makes the rest of the house recede into something soft and unimportant. The hallway beyond the door turning to a kind of friendly nothing, the corners of the room settling into shadow that asks nothing of you. And past the curtain, past the glass, hanging in a sky gone the deep blue-black of late evening, there is the moon. Round, or nearly round, pale as the inside of a shell, sitting in the window the way it has sat in 10,000 generations of windows before this one, patient and familiar, an old friend who never changes the shape of his face, who rises over rooftops and treetops and ship masts and desert dunes with the same steady expression it has always worn, asking nothing of anyone, simply being there. The way it will be there again tomorrow night, and the night after that. Look at the lamp beside you for a moment. Really look at it, the way you might look at nothing else all day. Because there is nothing else to do tonight but look. And rest, and let your eyes move slowly over ordinary things until they stop feeling ordinary and start feeling like small miracles instead. You know this lamp completely, the curve of its shade, the switch beneath your fingers, the exact angle at which it throws its glow across the wall, the faint warmth that rises off the bulb if you ever hold your palm near it. And yet, there is a whole other side to it, isn't there? A back. A hidden hemisphere of ceramic or brushed metal or painted wood that faces the wall, that faces away from you, that you have not truly looked at in years, maybe ever. Not once in all the evenings you have fallen asleep beside it. It is not glowing there. It is not lit there. But it is not frightening either, not empty, not some void where the lamp stops existing. It is simply the part of a familiar object that happens, tonight, to be turned away from the light. If you reached around and turned the lamp a quarter turn, you would see it plainly. The same lamp, the same warm and steady thing, just showing you a face it doesn't usually show. It's unlit ceramic, just as real, just as solid, just as entirely lamp as the glowing front you have always known. Darkness, you might notice, if you let the thought arrive on its own unhurried schedule, is very often nothing more than this. Not an abyss. Not a place where things end or dissolve or turn into something unknowable. Just the back of something you already know, waiting its turn to be looked at, holding no more mystery than the side of a teacup you have never happened to examine. Hold that small, easy idea the way you'd hold a warm stone in your palm, because tonight it is going to travel with you a long way, out past the window, out past the glass, out to that pale round shape hanging so peacefully in the dark. Because the moon has a back too. The moon, like the lamp on your nightstand, has a whole hemisphere that turns eternally away, not from any lamp, but from us, from every eye that has ever looked up from this planet since the first person paused what they were doing to notice the sky. And that hidden face has a name that sounds, at first hearing, almost ominous: the far side. The dark side, some people call it, and the words land with a small shiver, as though there were something out there behind the moon that isn't meant to be seen, something better left alone, some cold country tucked behind the visible world where the ordinary rules might not apply. But you don't need to hold that shiver, not tonight. Because just like the unlit back of your lamp is still simply lamp, same material, same shape, same easy nature, the moon's hidden face is still simply moon. Rock, dust, old ground, lying under whatever light happens to be falling on it at any given hour, footed in the same stone as the bright crescent you have watched your whole life. Nothing waits there. Nothing watches. It is only turned away, the way the back of a familiar object is always turned away from whoever happens, at this particular moment, to be looking at the front. A house has a back garden no less real for being unseen from the street. A face has the curve of a skull behind it, unseen and unremarkable, simply there, simply part of the whole. Consider, for a moment, how completely you already know the front. The face you can see right now, glowing through your window, is the only lunar face that has ever risen over a human campfire. The only one that has ever been drawn on cave walls or painted onto temple ceilings or watched by sailors trying to find their way home across a dark sea. It is the face that hung above the first cities, the first roads, the first lullabies ever hummed to a restless child. Every farmer who ever timed a planting by its phases, every poet who ever rhymed a word with its light, every child who ever pointed up and asked what shape that was. All of them, all of us, have been looking at the very same hemisphere. Over and over, for the entire span of human memory, an unbroken chain of upturned faces stretching back further than any single language, any single nation, any single name we have ever given ourselves. It is, in a strange and tender way, the most looked at surface in the whole of the solar system that isn't the ground beneath our own feet. We have given its shadowed patches names and stories. We have imagined faces in its markings, imagined rabbits, imagined a woman carrying wood on her back, imagined toads and hares and old men bent under bundles of sticks, each culture finding its own gentle shape in the same familiar smudges of gray. This face belongs to us the way the lamp's glowing front belongs to the room. It is the part we were always given, the part that was always turned toward home, offered to us night after night, without ever once turning away. So it should feel less like a mystery and more like a quiet fact settling into place. There is another face we were never given. Not because it was hidden from us on purpose, not because someone decided we shouldn't see it, but simply because of how the moon happens to be turning, the same unhurried, physical reason your lamp's back stays turned to the wall as long as it sits where it sits. There is no plot in it. There is no secret. There is only geometry, patient and old, doing what geometry does. And still, lying here, warm under the blankets, the honeyed light of the lamp painting its small circle on the pillow beside you, a question drifts up anyway, soft and unhurried. The kind of question that doesn't need answering right this second. The kind you can simply let float above you like a held breath before sleep. If both faces of the moon are made of the very same rock, if both faces have always simply been turned this way or that, the way any object has a front and a back, then why do we call the one we cannot see the dark side at all? Why does that word, dark, cling to a hemisphere that, for all we actually know lying here tonight, might catch every bit as much sunlight as the one glowing gently above your window right now? It is a small question, hardly more than a whisper, no heavier than a held breath, but it is the kind that likes to be carried a little further into the night before it finds where it belongs, the way a single loose thread likes to be followed, patiently, unhurried, to see where it leads before you let it rest. And that question can rest in the room with you for a moment, unanswered, the way a lamp left on doesn't ask to be explained. Because before we go looking for an answer, there's something worth setting straight, something your body already half knows just from lying here in this half-lit room. The name people use, the dark side, is really just a habit of language, worn smooth from being passed hand to hand, and it isn't quite true. Not in the way sunlight is true. Over the course of one full lunar month, both sides of the moon, the one turned toward us and the one turned away, receive their fair share of daylight. Each hemisphere has its stretch of bright hours and its stretch of night, the same as any patch of ground spinning slowly through its own private day. The far side isn't shrouded. It isn't dimmer or colder or somehow left out when the light gets handed around the solar system. It simply keeps its bright hours to itself, the way the back of a lamp still warms under the same bulb, even though your eyes never rest there. You've just never happened to be standing in the right place to see it lit. That's all. a matter of position, not of darkness. So let the word unfamiliar settle into place instead, and let dark drift off, released from a job it was never really doing. What we mean, really, when we say the far side, is simply this: a face of stone and dust that has never once turned toward a watching eye on Earth. Not hidden by shadow, hidden by geometry. Hidden the way the underside of a leaf is hidden even in full sun, simply because of the angle it holds toward you. And once that small correction settles, notice how it loosens something in the chest, because now there's room to just look, without the flinch that the word dark side used to carry. Let your eyes travel to the window, to the pale familiar disk hanging there in the sky, the one you've known since before you could put a name to it. This is the face that has been given to every generation of people who ever lay back in grass or in bedding and looked up. The same face, unchanging, patient, worn into human memory long before anyone knew why it stayed the same. Somewhere on it, you can probably trace the darker patches without even trying, those broad, dusky plains people once thought were seas, and so gave them the old word for sea, though they've never held a single drop of water. They are simply flat basins, poured smooth by ancient lava a very long time ago, cooled dark and even, low country set against the pale, cratered highlands around them. If you let your eyes soften, unfocus just slightly the way they do right before sleep finds you, the shapes made by these dark plains can gather into something almost like a face, a shadowed brow, a suggestion of eyes, a hint of a mouth. Cultures across the world have found their own versions of this face, or a rabbit, or a woman carrying a bundle of sticks, each shape born from the same handful of ancient lava plains, read differently by different eyes looking up from different corners of the earth, all of them looking at exactly the same unchanging arrangement of light and shadow. There is something tender in that, if you let yourself notice it, that for the entire span of human watching, everyone who has ever loved this particular sky has been looking at the very same view. Grandparents and their grandparents and every stranger you will never meet, all held to one shared image, the near side offering itself over and over, night after night, without ever once turning away. Think of how many names this one face has worn, across how many languages, how many kitchen tables and rooftops and riverbanks. Someone once looked at those same dark plains and saw a toad settled in for the night. Someone else saw a woman bent over her weaving, the dark shapes reading as thread and loom rather than eyes and mouth. None of them were wrong, exactly, because there was never a fixed picture waiting to be found, only ancient lava, cooled into low, dark basins a very long time ago. And human eyes doing what human eyes have always done, with a pattern held still long enough to study. Give any shape enough patient looking, across enough centuries, and it will eventually resemble something dear to whoever is doing the looking. That is not a trick of the moon. That is simply what happens when the same picture is offered to every generation without ever being taken back. And this face does more than simply hang there to be admired. It has weight. It reaches down, unseen, and moves the water on this earth. That gentle pull you might have felt on some evening beach, watching the tide creep further up the sand than it had that morning, that is this very moon, tugging with a patience too large to notice moment to moment, yet steady enough to move oceans on a schedule as old as the planet itself. Twice each day, roughly, the water rises to meet an invitation it cannot refuse, then eases back to let the shore breathe again. The moon has been doing this since long before there were shores worth naming, long before there was anyone waiting on a beach to feel it. It doesn't reach for us so much as it simply exists nearby, and existing nearby at this scale is enough to move an entire ocean. You don't have to understand the mechanics of it lying here to feel the rightness of it, something large and distant, quietly rearranging water across a whole planet without any hurry at all. And it isn't only the oceans that answer to it. The same pull, faint and constant, reaches into bays and rivers and the soft give of wet sand, into the rhythm fishing towns have set their days by for as long as there have been fishing towns. A whole coastline's worth of small human decisions: when to walk out onto the flats, when to bring the boats in, quietly arranged around the coming and going of water that this one familiar face hanging there in your window right now has been orchestrating the entire time, without applause, without anyone needing to thank it. So this is the face we know. The one with the ancient dark plains, the one that seems, if you squint, to almost watch back. The one tugging oceans into their long, unhurried rhythm. The one that has never, not once in the whole of human history, shown itself to us any differently. Every photograph ever taken from the ground, every sketch made by candlelight centuries ago, every glance thrown skyward from a rooftop or a field or a window like yours tonight, all of it, the same face. Always the same arrangement of that dusky rabbit or watching eyes or bundle of sticks. Never rotated, never shown from a different angle, never once caught mid-turn, the way a person might be caught mid-turn crossing a room. And that is strange, isn't it, in the nicest possible way? Not frightening strange, curious strange. The kind of strange that makes you want to keep your eyes open just a little longer instead of closing them. Every other object you can think of turns as it moves. A coin tossed in the air spins through every angle before it lands. A planet spins beneath its own sky, so that day gives way to night, gives way to day again, over and over, all the way around. But the moon, hanging there so plainly in your window, orbiting this Earth once every month, somehow always presents this same familiar arrangement of pale highlands and dark old seas, this same faint suggestion of a face, without ever showing you so much as a sliver of anything new. Month after month, orbit after orbit, and never once a different view. Why would that be? Why would something moving, something clearly circling us the way it does, never once let us catch it from behind? It isn't holding still. You can watch it change shape across the weeks, swelling from a sliver to a full pale circle and back again, so it is plainly turning, plainly in motion around us the whole time. And yet the face never changes, never rotates out of view the way you'd expect anything else in motion to do. There's an answer to that, and it isn't strange at all once it's laid out. It's actually one of the gentlest, most patient pieces of choreography in the whole quiet sky above you, something worked out over a very long stretch of time, long before there was anyone here to watch it happen. But for now, just let the question sit there, soft and unhurried, the way a good question should before its answer arrives. Why only ever this one face? Let your eyes rest on the window a little longer, on that same familiar arrangement of shadow and light that every person who ever looked up has also seen. And let the wondering itself be enough for now, easy and unforced. The kind of not knowing that doesn't ask anything of you except to keep breathing, slow and even, while somewhere out there, entirely unbothered by your question, the moon keeps turning exactly as it always has. The answer to that quiet question has been circling above you this whole time, patient as the moon itself, and now it settles into place the way a held breath finally lets go. You only ever see this one face, because the moon and the earth have spent billions of years learning a kind of choreography, a partnership so unhurried and so complete that it no longer needs to be renewed. The moon spins on its axis exactly once for every single lap it makes around the earth. One turn, one orbit, matched to each other so precisely that the same familiar face is always what greets you. Night after night, decade after decade, the way the same side of a lamp always faces you across the room, while its other side rests unseen against the wall. Astronomers call this synchronous rotation, but you don't need the term to feel the truth of it. You only need to notice how steady it is, how nothing about it is sudden, or forced, or strained. It is a lock, yes, but not the kind that clicks shut and holds something captive. It is closer to two dancers who have moved together so many times that they no longer think about the steps at all. It helps, lying here, to let go of the word gravity as something that grips, something that seizes and pulls with force. Picture instead a much softer kind of influence, a long invisible hand resting on the moon's shoulder for eons, never squeezing, only ever guiding. The way a low current in still water can turn a leaf without ever touching its edges roughly. Gravity between two bodies this close does not need violence to do its work. It only needs time, and time is the one thing the Earth and Moon have never been short of. Over the whole span of their shared history, that faint tug reached into the moon and asked it, again and again, to slow. Not to stop, not to freeze, only to slow. By degrees so small no single day would ever have shown a difference, until the moon's own turning began to match the length of its journey around us. What you are picturing, if you let yourself, is not a trap closing. It is a settling. The kind of settling a body makes when it finally finds the position it will rest in for the whole rest of the night, shifting, and then still at ease, at home. Think of your own lamp again, there beside you, its warm shade turned just so. You never walk around it to check its other side. You don't need to. You already know, without looking, that the same face has been turned toward you since you first set it there, and that its far side has simply been living its own quiet, ordinary existence against the wall this whole time, gathering a little dust, humming along in the dark, needing nothing from you. The moon's locked face works exactly this way. It isn't an accident that startles you each time you glance up. It is a promise so old and so dependable that it has outlasted every civilization that ever looked toward the sky and gave that face a name. Long before telescopes, long before anyone had a word for orbit or rotation, people were already trusting this face to return each night in the same familiar arrangement of light and shadow. The way you trust your ceiling to be exactly where you left it when you close your eyes. And this is where the choreography becomes almost tender to imagine, because it means the moon is not simply floating past us, indifferent, spinning on its own private schedule that happens by chance to line up with ours. It means the moon, across an almost unimaginable stretch of years, changed its own rhythm to meet ours. It slowed itself into agreement. There is something unexpectedly moving in that. If you let the thought rock you gently rather than examine it too hard, the idea that two bodies so far apart, one small and pale and quiet, one blue and turning and full of life, could fall into step with each other purely through patience, through the soft, persistent math of gravity working on rock and time. No signal was sent, no arrangement was made. And yet here you are, generations upon generations later, still able to look up and find the same eyes, the same shadowed seas, the same quiet face waiting in its accustomed place. Because that ancient settling never needed to be renewed. It simply held, the way a well-worn habit holds, the way the position of your own head on the pillow finds itself again each night, almost, without your choosing it. It's worth pausing here, drifting in this thought a moment longer, to notice what this locking is not. It is not the moon being pinned in place, unable to move, punished into stillness. The moon turns. It genuinely spins, a full rotation every single orbit, roughly once every 27 days. It is only that this turning and its traveling happen at the same unhurried pace, so that from where you stand on Earth, the two motions cancel each other into the appearance of perfect stillness. The moon is not frozen. It is simply moving in a way so harmonized with its own path around us that its face never seems to change. There is a difference between something that cannot move and something that has found a rhythm so complete it no longer needs to. The lamp beside you is not chained to its position either. Someone could turn it, if they wished. It simply has no reason to, night after night, and so it doesn't. And its back stays exactly where you left it, waiting without waiting, unlit but never lost. If you let your mind rest on this for a while, the tidal lock stops feeling like a fact from a textbook and starts feeling like something closer to a bedtime story. One where two bodies orbiting each other in the vast quiet of space slowly agreed to face one another the same way each time, out of nothing more dramatic than the pull between them and the passage of years enough to make that pull matter. It is easy, from here, to wonder how such an agreement first began, what the moon might have looked like before this settling took hold, back when it perhaps spun faster, showing different faces to the Earth in a way no one now alive was ever there to witness. That earlier version of the moon, restless and quick, belongs to a much older night than this one, a night so far back it happened before there were eyes anywhere to watch it happen. Notice, too, how little any of this asks of you tonight. The moon did not need to be watched, or measured, or understood in order to find its rhythm. It found it on its own, in the dark, over years too vast for a single mind to hold. The way your own breathing found its rhythm long before you ever thought to notice it. The way your heartbeat keeps its unhurried count without waiting for your permission. There is a kind of company in that. Somewhere above you, a whole other world has already done the work of settling, has already let go of whatever restlessness it once carried, and all that's left now is the steady result, one face, offered faithfully, night after night, like a lamp that never needs to be told which way to shine. You are allowed to borrow a little of that stillness for yourself. You are allowed to let your own turning slow to match the room around you. The way the moon's turning slowed to match its path, until there's no more effort in it at all, only the shape of rest arriving on its own schedule. Consider how ordinary this whole arrangement would feel if you could travel back far enough to watch it unfold, not as a spectacle, not as anything sudden or grand, but as the plainest kind of change, the kind that happens to a body left alone with gravity for long enough. Nothing about a lock like this needs an audience. It asks for no drama, no crescendo, no dramatic turning point you could point to and say, "Here, this is where it happened." It only asks for duration. Millions of years folded quietly into millions more, each one shaving away some small fraction of a spin that was once faster, once looser, once more its own. If patience had a shape, it might look like this: a small pale body slowing itself down across an ocean of time until stillness of a certain kind became simply what it was, no longer something reached for, but something worn. The way a favorite blanket eventually takes the shape of the body that has slept beneath it every night for years. And you can feel, even now, how naturally the mind wants to reach further back, past the settled moon you know, past the single steady face resting outside your window, toward whatever restless, spinning version of it existed before any of this calm took hold. There must have been a moon that turned more freely once, showing Earth a slow procession of different faces across a night sky, far older than any human memory. Long before that motion eased itself into the single familiar arrangement you have always known. That earlier chapter, the one where the lock had not yet closed, where the choreography was still being learned step by unhurried step, is the thread this story now follows, leaning back into the deep past the way you might lean back into your pillow, curious about the quiet mechanics that made tonight's stillness possible at all. And if that settling took time, that is only because anything worth trusting takes time. Nothing in the sky arrives already finished. Let your shoulders remember that, sinking a little further into the mattress, because what follows is simply the story of how a lock like that gets made, not with a click, not with a snap, but the way a held breath eases out over many long seconds until you forget you were ever holding it. Picture the young moon, newly born, still glowing faintly with its own warmth, spinning far quicker than it does tonight. In those early ages, it did not yet show Earth the same face. It turned and turned, a full day passing in far less time than a month, cartwheeling through its slow orbit like a child not yet ready for sleep. And Earth, so much larger, so much nearer, reached toward it the way a lamp's warmth reaches toward the side of a room, without ever touching it. Not with hands, but with gravity, a pull so patient it barely deserves the word pull at all. Call it instead an invitation, repeated every single moment, asking the moon to turn a little slower, and a little slower again. That invitation worked on the moon's own body. Even a sphere of rock, even something that looks perfectly round from here in your window, is never quite finished being round. Earth's gravity drew the nearest rock of the moon a fraction higher than the rest, and drew the farthest rock up too, so that the moon carried two faint swells, two tidal bulges, one always leaning toward Earth, and one always leaning away, like the almost invisible give in a mattress on either side of where you rest your weight. In the earliest nights of the solar system, these bulges did not sit still. Because the young moon spun faster than it orbited, its own rotation kept trying to carry those bulges forward, ahead of the line that pointed straight at Earth. The way a full cup carried too quickly will let its water lean and slosh toward the front. And Earth's gravity, patient and unhurried, kept tugging those leaning bulges back into line. Each time the rock of the bulge was dragged forward by spin and pulled back by gravity, it flexed, ever so slightly, the way a blanket flexes when it is tucked and retucked around the same shape night after night. That flexing is friction. Quiet internal friction, rock rubbing infinitesimally against rock, and friction always asks something of motion. It borrowed, very slowly, from the moon's spin. Not violently, not with any sound that could ever have been heard, since there was no air there to carry one. Just a continuous, unhurried withdrawal, orbit after orbit, millennium after millennium, spin bleeding into heat and settling, until the fast young spin that once turned a full day in hours eased down, and down again, the way your own breathing eases when a long day finally lets you go. This went on for a span of time almost too vast to hold in a single thought. Not years so much as ages, hundreds of millions of them. The kind of stretch where continents on Earth were still deciding their shapes. And through all of it, the invitation and the answer kept meeting in the same place. Gravity asking, friction listening, the spin slowing to match the orbit until there was no more mismatch left to smooth away. The moment the moon's own turning finally matched the pace of its journey around us, one full spin for every one full circuit, the flexing had nowhere left to go. The bulge that once wandered ahead of the Earth-facing line settled directly onto it and stayed there. The moon had found its step. From that point onward, the same face would lead the way around Earth, forever, the way a hand finally stops circling and settles palm down onto a familiar surface. That is what tidal locking is. Once you follow it all the way to its beginning, not a rule imposed from outside, but something the moon arrived at on its own. The natural resting point of billions of small, gentle corrections. Earth is not holding the moon's face toward us. The moon simply found the one position where nothing further needed correcting, and so it stopped correcting, and so it stayed. Sleep sometimes works the same way. If you let it, not forced, but found, the body trying a few positions until it settles into the one that asks nothing more of it. None of this happened only once, and none of it is finished even now, though what remains today is far too faint to notice in any single lifetime. The moon still drifts a little farther from Earth with each passing year, a distance so small it could never be felt, only measured, patiently, by instruments built for exactly that kind of quiet arithmetic. It is the same slow conversation continuing at a pace too gentle for a human clock to register, the last, almost inaudible murmur of a settling that mostly finished eons ago. What matters for tonight is only that the settling did finish, that the choreography found its final shape, and that the shape it found is the one hanging in your window right now. One face turned toward you in permanent, patient greeting. And here is the small, tender exception, the part that keeps the lock from being absolute. If the moon's face were perfectly, mathematically still, we would see exactly half of it and no more. The way a coin glued flat to a table shows only one side forever. But the moon's orbit is not a perfect circle. It is very slightly stretched, an ellipse rather than a ring. So the moon moves a little faster when it is nearer to us, and a little slower when it is farther, while its own spin keeps turning at one even, unbroken pace. Because those two rhythms do not match at every single instant, only on average, the moon appears to rock, very gently, back and forth along its edges as it travels. Astronomers call this soft rocking libration, and it means the moon is not entirely fixed to us after all. It leans a little to one side, then eases back and leans a little to the other, the way a sleeper turns without waking, the way a lamp left slightly ajar on its shelf shows first a sliver of one hidden edge, then a sliver of the other, over the slow turning of a month. There is a second, quieter rocking too, one that has nothing to do with the shape of the orbit and everything to do with the small, easy tilt of the moon's own axis. The faint lean it carries the way a sleeping head tips a few degrees off the pillow without ever fully turning. Because of that gentle lean, the moon nods, ever so slightly, up and down as well as side to side, showing us on some nights a thin curve of its northern edge, and on others a thin curve of its southern edge, the two motions overlapping like slow, unrelated currents in the same calm water. And there is a third rocking smaller still, born simply from where you happen to be standing on the wide curve of Earth, since looking up from one place on this turning world offers a hair's breadth different angle than looking up from another. The way tilting your own head on the pillow changes, just barely, which edge of the lamp catches your eye. None of these rockings are large. None of them ever show us a whole new hemisphere in a single glance. They are small, patient, overlapping wobbles, the kind of motion so unhurried it could pass for stillness to anyone not willing to watch for months on end. Because of that gentle rocking, we are not limited to exactly half of the moon. Across enough nights, enough months, enough years of patient watching, the sliver on one side and the sliver on the other add up, and altogether we are shown, over time, about 59% of the whole lunar surface. Not 50. 59. A few extra slivers of stone offered to us at the edges, almost as a kindness, glimpses that arrive only if you are willing to wait through many turnings of the sky rather than looking just once. And that leaves the remainder, some 41% of the moon, that no rocking, no waiting, no month of patient watching from any point on Earth has ever brought into view. Not hidden by force, not sealed away. Simply the part that never leans close enough, never tips far enough toward us to catch the light of our gaze even once. Let that number rest in you for a moment, the way a low number rests easily in a tired mind. 41%, always turned outward, always facing away, keeping its own quiet company on the far side of a small, stony world that is, in every other way, exactly the familiar moon you have known your whole life. It is not a separate place. It is the same globe, the same neighbor in the sky, only rotated the way you might turn a favorite object slowly in your hands until, for the very first time, the back of it comes into view. A surface identical in nature to the front, made of the same ancient rock, only unseen, only unfamiliar because no one from here has ever had the angle to look. That is where we drift now, gently, past the line where sight runs out, toward the wide and quiet hemisphere waiting just beyond it. So let that permanently hidden hemisphere stop being a question and become a place. Let yourself drift toward it now, the way your eyes drift toward the unlit back of the lamp on your nightstand without ever needing to turn it around. You do not have to travel far. You only have to let your attention loosen from the bright, known face and slip around the curve, past the rim where day gives way to the side that never looks back at us, and settle there, weightless, above ground, that has waited the whole span of its existence without a single human eye upon it. It is not waiting the way something lonely waits. It is simply there, the way the back of a chair is there, the way the underside of a leaf is there, patient in its ordinariness, unbothered by being unseen. The first thing you notice, if noticing can be this unhurried, is that the crust beneath you is thicker here. Decades of measurement, of spacecraft tracing the pull of gravity across this terrain the way a hand traces the grain of old wood, have shown that the far side's outer shell runs deeper than the crust on the near side, in places by many miles. Imagine it as a blanket folded twice on one side of the bed and only once on the other, the same material, simply gathered up more thickly here, more thinly there, both sides equally real, equally solid, equally capable of holding you. That extra thickness is why so much of what makes the near side dark and smooth never happened here. Long ago, when the moon's interior still ran with slow rivers of molten rock, that dark basalt found it far easier to rise and spread across the thinner near side crust than to push through this deeper, heavier shell. So the lava stayed low, pooling mostly on the side that faces us, and this far side kept its original skin instead, pale and ancient. The way the back of a well-loved book keeps its plain cloth cover, while the front carries all the printed color. Because of that, the far side wears almost none of the dark Maria you have known your whole life as the shadowed patches and the imagined eyes and mouth of a face in the sky. Here there is hardly any of that soft gray shading at all. Instead, the ground below you runs pale and bright, catching starlight and the thin reach of the distant sun in a way that makes it look, from above, almost luminous, almost powdery, like the underside of the lampshade where no bulb has ever pointed, but the material itself still holds a faint sheen. It is a brighter world, in the most literal sense, reflecting more light back out into space simply because its surface never darkened with that ancient flood of lava. And yet it is also a rougher world, dense with texture, because without the smoothing wash of basalt to fill in the old wounds, every impact that ever struck here was left standing, layered one on top of another across billions of quiet years. And there are so many of them. As you glide low over this terrain, craters overlap craters overlap craters, rims cutting into older rims, small bright hollows nested inside larger ones, until the whole landscape reads like a surface that has simply been allowed to remember everything that ever touched it. On the near side, lava erased so much of that memory, smoothing the record the way years smooth an old signature into a curve nobody can quite trace back to its first letter. But here, nothing came to erase it. Each strike stayed exactly where it landed, and the highlands rose around them, pale and folded, some of the oldest ground anywhere on the moon, stretching back further than almost any surface you could ever hope to stand on. There is no violence in this for you to feel, only depth, only time laid out plainly, crater inside crater, inside crater, like nested bowls left quietly on a shelf, undisturbed, because no hand ever needed to move them. Drift lower, if you like, and let the shapes come into focus one at a time, the way objects in a dim room reveal themselves not all at once, but piece by piece, as your eyes adjust. Here a crater no wider than a courtyard, its floor smooth and shadowed. There, layered over its edge, a far older crater, its own rim worn almost to nothing, softened by every small strike that has grazed it since. And beyond that, another, larger, cradling a handful of smaller ones inside it, like a bowl holding a scatter of pale stones. The highlands themselves rise and fall in long, easy waves between these countless hollows, pale rock that has simply been here, unaltered in its essential nature, since a time before the near side had even finished cooling into the smoother face you know. There is a kind of hush to this density of detail, not the hush of something being hidden from you, but the hush of a room that has simply never needed to be loud. Nothing here erodes the way stone erodes on Earth, worn by wind and rain and root. There is no air to carry a breeze, no water to soften an edge, so every crater keeps almost exactly the shape it was given the day it formed, a record left undisturbed the way a single footprint might last forever in ground that no second foot will ever cross. Compare it, if it helps you rest, to the near side you have always known, and let the comparison settle you rather than unsettle you. Where the near side is patched with those familiar dark plains, low and smooth and easy for your eye to read as a face, the far side is almost entirely this pale, dense, textured highland, brighter simply because it kept its original surface, rougher simply because it kept its original memory. Neither side is more true than the other. They are only two ways the same young world happened to cool, two answers the same moon gave to the same slow question, one soft shadowed and one finely etched. The way the front of a coin carries a portrait and the back carries only a quiet pattern of ridges, both belonging to the one coin, both real, both whole. And at the far side's bottom, cradling its southern reach, lies something vast enough that even in this unhurried drifting you can sense its scale before you can see its edges. The South Pole, Aitken Basin, one of the largest impact scars in the entire solar system. A shallow, sprawling bowl stretching across more than a third of the moon's diameter, dug out by a collision so old it happened while the inner planets were still finishing their earliest chapters. You do not need to picture the moment of impact, the heat, the shock, any of that old violence. That part is long finished. Folded into deep time, absorbed the way a pond absorbs a stone, and returns, given enough patience, to stillness. What is left now is only shape, a basin so wide and so worn that its walls have softened into gentle rises, its floor darker than the pale highlands around it, holding within it clues to material from far beneath the surface, material that never sees light on any other part of the moon. It is less a wound now than a signature, the oldest and broadest mark the moon carries, resting on the one side that has always kept its own record, undisturbed, because nobody was ever there to disturb it. Let your body notice how none of this asks anything of you. There is nothing here to flinch from, nothing sharp in the way a crater catches starlight, nothing hurried in the way one rim leans into the next. It is only ground, older than almost anything you have ever stood on, and you are simply passing above it, unhurried, held at a gentle distance, the way a lamp holds its shade, a few safe inches from the bulb. Let your shoulders soften into the cushion beneath you, the way this terrain has softened over the ages, every hard edge worn down by nothing more violent than time itself. Let your breath find the same unhurried rhythm as this landscape's own long stillness, in and out and in again, matching the patience of ground that has been exactly this quiet for longer than you can really hold in your mind, and does not need to be anything other than what it already is. And now, just here, above the pale curve of the highlands and the wide, worn bowl of that ancient basin, let the drifting change its character. Let it stop being something you are doing, watching, understanding, and let it become something that is simply happening to you, the way falling asleep is something that happens to you rather than something you do. You are still above that cratered ground, close enough to sense its texture, far enough to need nothing from it, and something beneath you, something around you, is beginning to hold you the way water holds a body that has finally stopped swimming. And now, just above that pale and cratered ground, something in you loosens, the way a hand loosens once it finally sets down whatever it has been carrying all day. There is nothing to study here anymore, nothing to name, only the sensation of hovering, of being held at exactly the right distance from a world that asks nothing of you. Let the thinking part of your mind step back now, the way you might step back from a window once you've looked long enough, and let the rest of you simply be carried. Feel yourself lifted, weightless. The way you feel just before sleep takes you under, that soft last second where the mattress seems to fall away and something wider holds you instead. You are drifting above the highlands now, though drifting is too effortful a word for it. You are not swimming, not floating even. You are simply resting in place, while the whole of you is cradled by something that has no hands and needs none. There is a kind of support that comes without pressure. This is that kind. Nothing pushes up against you, and yet nothing lets you fall. Notice how unhurried this motion is. There is no destination pulling you forward, no clock keeping time with your breath. You move the way a held thing moves when the one holding it has nowhere else to be. A slow, wide arc, patient as a held breath, let out over many seconds. Your shoulders remember, one at a time, that they do not have to hold themselves up. Your jaw remembers it does not have to hold itself closed. Even your eyes, closed and unmoving, remember that they do not have to watch for anything here. There is nothing to watch for. There is only the pale ground below you, luminous and hushed, turning without any urgency beneath a body that has already decided to rest. You may notice, faintly, that you cannot feel where your own weight ends and the carrying begins. This is the whole of the gift. Whatever holds you here does so without effort, and so you can stop searching for the edge of the support, the way you might stop searching, late at night, for the exact moment sleep arrives. It arrives without a seam. It is simply, suddenly, already true. Let this be the same. You are already held. You have been held since before you noticed the holding. Beneath you the ground does not rise to meet you, and does not recede. It simply is, patient and pale, the kind of terrain that has waited so long it no longer measures waiting in any unit you would recognize. And you, above it, are equally patient now, equally unmeasured, drifting the unhurried arc of something that has been given permission to stop producing effort. Your hands, wherever they are resting against you now, can soften further. Let them. There is nothing here to hold on to, and nothing here that needs holding. The carrying is doing all the work that work used to require of you. Feel your breath lengthen to match this motion, in and then out, slower than before, slower than it was even a minute ago. Each exhale a small release of whatever you were gripping when the night began. You do not have to remember what that was. You only have to notice that your grip is loosening, finger by finger, thought by thought, the way a hand opens on its own once it finally understands there is nothing left to catch. Somewhere below you the old ground keeps its long, wide, patient turning, and somewhere in you, matching it, something turns too, slower, softer, sinking by degrees into whatever waits just underneath waking. There is no wind here to stir you, and so nothing stirs you but the drift itself, gentle as something imagined rather than felt, though you feel it all the same. Let your whole body lean into that imagined gentleness. Let your legs grow heavy in the way that only happens right at the edge of sleep. Heavy not with weight, but with permission, the muscles finally believing they are allowed to stop. Let your chest rise without effort and fall without effort, each movement smaller than the last, until breathing itself becomes something that simply happens to you rather than something you do. You are being carried. Say that to yourself, low and without hurry, and notice how the sentence itself seems to slow the pace of the carrying further, as though the words were part of what holds you. You are being carried above ground that has kept its own patient quiet for longer than memory reaches, ground that has never needed anything from you and never will, ground that simply continues, turning, luminous, undemanding, while you continue too, above it, weightless, unbothered, sinking a little further into stillness with every breath that leaves you. Feel how little is required of you now, not attention, not effort, not even the small work of holding your own shape together. That work has been handed over, without asking, to whatever it is that carries you. Your only task, if it can be called a task at all, is to keep drifting, keep softening, keep letting each part of your body report back that it, too, has nothing left to hold. Your forehead can smooth. Your throat can loosen. Your hands can rest exactly where they are, unclenched, unneeded. Simply present the way the ground beneath you is simply present, without asking, without insisting, without any weight of its own. Time, wherever you are now, has stopped behaving the way it does in ordinary rooms. There are no minutes here, no ticking, no sense of one moment nudging the next one forward. There is only a long, continuous now, wide enough to hold your whole body without straining at the edges. You could stay inside this now for a long while and never once feel it grow thin. It simply continues, the way the drifting continues, the way your breath continues, each part of you folding into the next without any seam to mark where one ends and the other begins. If a thought arrives, and it may, thoughts sometimes drift in even here, uninvited. The way a leaf settles onto water, let it pass beneath you the way the ground passes beneath you, without needing your attention, without needing anything from you at all. You do not have to chase it. You do not have to answer it. You can simply notice it moving away below, small and distant, already forgotten by the time it reaches the horizon, while you continue on, held, unbothered, carried forward by something patient enough to wait out every passing thought without once losing its grip on you. Somewhere far beneath, the terrain keeps its old, wide silence, mile after mile of pale rock that has never once been in a hurry about anything. You begin to borrow that unhurried quality now, the way a body borrows warmth from whatever it rests against. Your own pace slows to match the pace of the ground. Your own hush deepens to match the peace spread out below you, until it becomes difficult to say which one taught the other how to be tranquil, whether the land beneath you settled you, or whether you, settling, simply began to notice how settled it already was. There is a particular kind of comfort in being carried by something that never once considers putting you down before you are ready. You can feel that patience now, if you let yourself, a held, dependable steadiness underneath the drift. The same steadiness a heavy curtain gives when it finally stops swaying and simply hangs, full and settled, admitting no draft. Let that steadiness settle into your chest. Let it settle into the backs of your knees, the base of your skull, every place in your body that has been quietly working all day without ever asking for a rest. Now, it can rest. Now, for as long as this drifting continues, it is allowed to do absolutely nothing at all. And slowly, the way anything unhurried eventually arrives, you feel yourself being brought lower, not with a jolt, but with the long, easy settle of something being set down by someone who has done this 1,000 times and knows exactly how gentle the landing needs to be. You do not feel the moment your feet, if you yet have the sense of feet at all, come to rest. You only notice, afterward, that you are resting, that the carrying has become a kind of standing, that the drift has folded itself down into stillness the way a held breath folds itself into a long, easy exhale. You are set down now, unhurried, complete, turned, without needing to turn yourself, to face what waits ahead in the dark. Not away from it, toward it, because this ground beneath you, the one that carried you and now simply holds you, has a night of its own, a true and total one, and you are facing it now with the same softened, effortless ease that brought you here. Nothing sharp waits in that direction, nothing sudden, only the deepest quiet this hidden face has ever kept, spread out before you, the way a room settles once the last light in the house has finally, gently, been turned off. And now that you have been carried down, set upon the pale ground with such tenderness that you barely felt the landing, you find yourself facing outward, away from the world you left behind, toward the true night that waits on the other side of everything. This is where the real difference reveals itself. The one that gives this place its old, misunderstood name, because here, on this hidden face, something is missing that you have never once, in your whole life, known the absence of. Overhead, on the near side, on every night you have ever watched from your window, there hangs an unspoken companion, Earthshine, that faint blue-gray glow spilling off the planet itself, sunlight caught on oceans and clouds and bounced back to soften the darkest hours, to fill in the shadowed crescent of the moon with a borrowed ashen light. You have seen it without knowing its name, the old moon cradled in the new moon's arms, that ghostly fullness tracing the disk even when only a sliver is lit by the sun directly. Earth, hanging there fixed in the near-side sky, never rising, never setting, only turning slowly in place, has always been a second lamp for that face of the moon. A porch light left on, a presence, 4 times larger in that sky than the moon ever appears in ours, wide and steady and impossible to miss. It would sit there through every long lunar night, spilling its pale reflected glow across craters and plains alike, so that even in the deepest hour of near-side darkness, nothing is ever fully without illumination. There is always, always something watching back. Even the phrase itself, the old moon in the new moon's arms, carries a kind of lullaby cadence, doesn't it? As if sailors and shepherds who first noticed that faint completion of the crescent understood, long before any of this had a name, that they were watching one home shine its leftover light onto another. That the two worlds, bound together by that same patient gravity we spoke of earlier, were also bound by something as simple as reflected sunshine, a courtesy passed back and forth between neighbors who happened to share a single, quiet orbit. Here, there is no such thing. From this hemisphere, Earth never appears at all, not once, not for a moment, not in any century of any year. The far side turns its shoulder to us permanently, and because of that, the planet that lights our own nights so generously simply does not exist in the sky. There is no blue marble rising over these craters. There is no shifting crescent of home to orient a wandering eye. What is left, instead, is only starlight, the old patient light of 100 billion distant suns, unfiltered, unhurried by any nearby glow, falling straight down onto highlands that have waited billions of years to receive it undiluted. Picture it settling over those pale ridges the way starlight settles over an open field on the darkest night of the year back home, far from any town. Thin and silver and honest, asking nothing of the ground it touches, only resting there until morning comes to gather it up again. No porch light, no passing headlights sweeping the walls, only the sky, doing what the sky has always done, undisturbed by anything nearer. This is the true dark, not the frightened, groping dark of a story meant to unsettle you, but a clean dark, a complete one, the kind you might feel folding around you in the last moment before sleep, when the room has finally let go of its shapes and there is only the soft weight of the blanket and the knowledge that everything familiar is still exactly where you left it. Think of the lamp again, the one on your bedside table, glowing warm beside you even now as you listen. Its light reaches everything in front of it, the wall, the corner of the room, your own hand resting on the blanket, because that is the side turned outward, the side doing the work of pushing back the dark. But its other side, the side pressed toward the wall, the side you have never once turned to look at directly, receives none of that glow. It is not haunted. It is not empty in some troubling way. It is simply unlit, because the lamp, like the moon, only shines outward from the face it happens to be showing you. The far side of the moon is that unlit back, nothing more sinister than the plain plastic or brushed metal you'd find if you ever lifted the shade and turned the whole lamp around in your hands. You would not gasp. You would only nod, quietly unsurprised, and set it back down. This is the same. A shape simply facing away, in the ordinary manner that all shapes must eventually face away from something, somewhere, and the deep dark of that far hemisphere carries a second, quieter kind of stillness with it, one that has nothing to do with light at all. Here on the near side, wrapped around the moon at every hour, there drifts a constant hum of human sound, not the kind your ears could ever catch, but radio waves, an endless chatter of transmissions rising off our world. Television signals, aircraft communications, radar. The great restless conversation of 7 billion people and their machines, spilling upward and outward in every direction, wrapping the moon's near face the way a room fills gradually with the low murmur of a house settling for the night. It never fully stops. It has never fully stopped, not since the earliest radio towers first began to hum, decades and decades ago, adding their voices to a signal that has been quietly building ever since. The far side never hears any of it. The bulk of the moon itself, nearly 2,000 miles of ancient rock, stands directly between that hidden hemisphere and every signal Earth has ever sent. And so it becomes something almost impossible to find anywhere else within reach. A place of near total radio silence, shielded not by intention but by simple geometry, by the sheer patient mass of the world blocking the world's own noise. Scientists have a name for this hush. They call it radio quiet, a technical phrase for something that, once you sit with it, feels almost tender in its plainness, a hemisphere where the endless transmission of human voices simply cannot arrive, where the only signals reaching the ground are older than any voice, older than any tower, faint whispers left over from the universe's own infancy, arriving without interruption because there is nothing nearby loud enough to drown them out. This is why, for as long as people have studied the sky, that far hemisphere has held a particular kind of promise, a place where a listening instrument might finally hear what our own noisy world has always talked over. Not because anything is wrong with our noise, our radio and radar and endless overlapping conversations, but because even the most wonderful sound, played loudly enough and long enough, eventually crowds out the fainter ones underneath it. The far side offers a hush deep enough that those fainter, older signals might finally have room to be heard at all. A held breath the size of a hemisphere, 2,000 miles of stone standing between listener and static, so that whatever whispers are still traveling from the universe's youngest hours arrive clean, unhurried, entirely their own. There is no need to imagine this as isolation, as some far outpost cut off and forgotten. Isolation implies a leaving behind, a loss, and there is nothing lost here at all. Only a kind of natural insulation, the way the far corner of a house at night holds its own hush apart from whatever hum still lingers by the front door. You have felt this yourself, perhaps in the deepest part of certain nights, that particular hush that settles once every appliance clicks off, once the street outside finally empties, once the only sound left is your own breath moving in and out beneath the covers. The far side lives permanently inside that kind of hush, both in light and in sound, and there is nothing about it that asks to be feared. It is simply undisturbed, simply set apart, the way the underside of a stone rests apart from the sun without ever suffering for the absence. So let this dark settle into you, the way it settles onto those ancient highlands, not as an ending, not as a place where things go missing, but as a returning to something plain and whole. The unlit back of the lamp is still the lamp. The starlit hemisphere without earthshine, without the low murmur of our transmissions, is still the moon, still faithful, still exactly where it has always been, only turned in such a way that this particular kind of stillness belongs to it, and to it alone. And once you let that settle, once the fear of the word dark has fully unclenched its hold and released you, there is nowhere left for the mind to go but outward, past even this hidden hemisphere, past the last crater and the last shadow, out into the wide unlit reaches beyond, where darkness stops being the property of any one place and becomes, instead, simply the shape of everything. And so you rest there, set back down onto that pale, cratered dark, and the dark itself begins to widen in your mind, the way a room widens when your eyes finally trust it. That far hemisphere has no earth hanging over it, no borrowed glow to soften its night, only stars scattered edge to edge, and beyond those stars, more dark, and beyond that dark more stars again, folding outward farther than any lamp has ever needed to reach. It is tempting, for a breath, to feel small against a distance like that. But notice what happens if you let the feeling finish instead of flinching from it partway through. Smallness, out here, does not mean forgotten. It means fitting. It means being sized exactly for the bed you are lying in, the roof over that bed, the one small country of blanket and pillow that has never once needed to hold the whole universe, only you. Think of how much room the far side keeps around itself and asks nothing of. Whole plains of ancient highland, whole basins older than most rock on earth, sitting in their vast hush without a single errand to run. Nobody out there is being measured against that distance and found wanting. The distance simply is, patient and unhurried, the way the unlit back of a lamp is still shaped like a lamp, full, complete, needing no light on it to be finished. You are allowed to be that small and that complete at once. The universe was never in the business of grading anyone against its own size. It only ever kept expanding, because that is what it does. The same unforced way your chest keeps rising and falling tonight, without your permission or your effort. There is a kind of relief available here that worry never quite offers, and it is worth letting yourself feel the difference. Worry makes you large. It puffs you up into someone responsible for outcomes far past your reach. Someone who has to hold the whole night together by staying alert to it. But look instead at the actual scale of things. A body, tucked under a blanket, on a modest planet, circled by one modest moon, itself circled by no more than a wobble of libration, and a hemisphere it will never fully turn to face you. Nothing in that whole arrangement is asking you to keep watch. The moon does not need your attention to keep turning. The stars over that hidden crust do not need your attention to keep burning low and faint and steady. Everything continues whether you notice it or not, and that is not a lonely fact. It is the most restful one available tonight. You can let go of the watching. The turning was already handled long before you arrived, and it will go on being handled long after you have drifted past, caring how. Picture, if it helps, how little of the sky ever really depended on you in the first place. The tides kept rising and falling over the whole history of every ocean before a single lighthouse existed to mark them. The far side kept collecting its slow rain of ancient impacts, layering crater over crater, highland over highland, for longer than any story has been told about it, entirely unwitnessed, entirely unbothered by being unwitnessed. That is the quiet lesson tucked inside all that darkness. Importance and attention are not the same thing, and a place or a person does not need to be watched in order to be whole. You have spent so much of your waking life being watched, or worrying that you might be, or rehearsing what you'd say if you were. Tonight, you can set that down the way you'd set down a lamp you no longer need lit, turning its unlit side toward the room without a second thought, because the room does not require explaining to. Let your shoulders remember they do not need to brace against this kind of vastness. Vastness only feels like a threat when you imagine yourself standing exposed at the center of it, holding it up somehow. But you are not standing at the center of anything tonight. You are lying down, low and unhurried, tucked well beneath the whole arrangement of orbits and hemispheres and unseen craters, the way a single seed rests low in soil while an entire forest goes on breathing somewhere far above it, unconcerned, unbothered, simply continuing. Being underneath something enormous is not the same as being crushed by it. Sometimes it is the safest position there is, held from every direction, at once, with nothing left over that needs holding up by you. This is, in its own way, what the far side's night has been quietly offering since it first drifted into view of your imagination. Proof that darkness can be spacious without being demanding. A dark that stretches uninterrupted across an entire unseen hemisphere is not a dark that is coming for you. It is simply room. Room enough for old light from old stars to travel that whole distance without hurry, arriving faint and low and asking for nothing in return. Room enough for a whole face of a whole moon to exist for billions of years without ever needing to be looked at, and to be no less real, no less finished, for having gone unlooked at all that time. If a hemisphere can rest that easily in its own unseen wholeness, so, for tonight, can you. And maybe that is the true comfort tucked into all this scale, not that the universe is empty of meaning, but that it has never once required you to supply the meaning yourself, moment to moment, in order to be allowed your place in it. The far side turns whether anyone is thinking about it or not. Your breath slows whether you concentrate on it or not. There is nothing left on your list tonight, no shift to stand, no watch to keep over that distant dark, or any nearer one. The lamp by your bed does not strain to illuminate the whole room at once. It only ever tends the small, sufficient circle nearest to it, and lets the rest of the dark simply be dark, unproblematic, whole in its own quiet way. You get to be that small, tended circle tonight, nothing more required of you than staying soft in it. Consider, too, how much of that far darkness is simply distance doing its oldest, most ordinary job. Light takes time to cross a room, and more time to cross a sky, and far more time than that to cross the true reaches between one star and another. The starlight settling over those unseen craters tonight may have left its source before there were beds, before there were rooms, before there was anyone anywhere arranging a pillow. And still it arrives without complaint, unhurried across all that black, landing on rock that has waited just as long without complaint of its own. There is something almost tender in that kind of patience, light and stone, each keeping its appointment across an unthinkable stretch of years, neither one in any rush, because rushing was never required of either of them. You are not required to rush either. Whatever needs attending to tomorrow has no claim on tonight. Tonight belongs to the same unhurried order that let that light finish its journey at exactly the pace it needed. It may help to notice that scale like this runs in two directions at once, and both are kind. Zoom outward and you become small enough to be forgiven almost anything. Small enough that no mistake, no unfinished task, no unanswered message could possibly matter against a backdrop this wide. Zoom back inward though, and you find yourself exactly the size you actually are. A particular body, warm under a particular blanket, breathing at an unhurried pace, in a room that is, for tonight, the entire relevant universe. Both of those sizes are true at once, and neither cancels the other. You can be vanishingly small against the dark half of a moon and, in the same breath, be the single most important thing happening inside this bed, this hour. Nothing about the vastness diminishes the particular. It simply gives the particular somewhere soft and enormous to rest inside of. The way a small lit lamp needs a whole dark room around it before its light means anything at all. Let that thought settle low in your chest. The way settling happens whether you help it along or not. The far side does not perform its darkness for anyone. It is not staging anything, not waiting to be admired, not holding its breath for a witness. It simply continues, hemisphere folded quietly away from every eye that has ever looked up at the moon from Earth, complete regardless of who is or is not paying attention. That is a strange kind of freedom to borrow for yourself tonight. The freedom of not needing to be seen in order to be finished, of not needing to explain your day or defend your rest to anyone at all. You are allowed to be unwitnessed and whole at once, the same way that entire hidden face has been unwitnessed and whole for longer than memory reaches. So let the shoulders drop the last small fraction they have been holding. Let the jaw loosen the way stone loosens nothing, ever, and yet somehow still seems restful simply by never straining toward anything. There is nothing left on your ledger tonight, no tally to square with a sky this wide. The universe has already been carrying on, unhurried and unbothered, long before this particular evening, and it will carry on exactly the same way long after you have drifted past noticing. You do not need to keep pace with it. You only need to keep breathing, low and even, tucked beneath all that generous, undemanding dark. And yet, even resting this easily inside so much unclaimed space, something in us has always leaned a little closer toward the parts we cannot see, not out of unease, but out of a kind of fondness. The same fondness that makes you wonder half asleep what the back of a familiar room might look like if you could ever turn all the way around to finally face it. And held in that smallness, that sense of being cupped by something so much larger than yourself, a new feeling rises, warm and curious. The kind that turns a resting body back toward the world instead of away from it. Because to feel this small, this cared for, is also to remember that you belong to a long line of small watchers before you, generation after generation, lying back on some hillside or rooftop or windowsill, looking up at that one familiar face and wondering, without ever once being able to answer, what the other side might look like. For nearly the whole of human time, that question had no answer at all. Every person who ever lived and looked up, the first ones who named the shapes in the Maria, the ones who charted its phases to plant their fields, the ones who simply loved it as you love it now, saw only the near side, the same hemisphere turning the same face toward every generation in turn, century folding into century, and the other half of that story simply not there to be told. Not hidden the way a locked door hides a room, not sealed away behind anything, just turned, the way the back of your bedside lamp is turned from you tonight, resting in its own unlit hush a few inches from your hand, ordinary and unremarkable, and entirely unseen. Nobody feared what was on that far hemisphere. There was nothing to fear. There simply was no way, yet, to look. Think of how strange that really is, if you let yourself sit with it for a moment. Every civilization that ever rose and settled and told its children stories under an open sky shared the exact same view of the exact same face, an inheritance passed down not through books or teaching, but simply through the shape of orbits. Older than any of the empires that watched it, a shepherd tracking the months by its changing sliver, a sailor timing a voyage by its fullness, a child pointing up and asking what it was made of. Every one of them was looking at precisely the hemisphere you are looking at through your own window tonight. And precisely none of them, not a single person in that entire unbroken chain, had ever seen what lay past its edge. That is not a small thing to notice. That is a whole species, holding one shared face in its memory for the length of its entire existence, and never once being shown the back of it. And where knowledge cannot reach, wonder always finds a way in instead. Low and patient, filling the space that facts have not yet arrived to fill. Across cultures that never spoke to one another, across ages that never overlapped, people built the far side out of story rather than observation. Because a face you cannot see is not a face you stop imagining, it becomes instead the place where imagining is allowed to run further than anywhere the light already reaches. Some pictured a second moon behind the first, twin and secret. Some folded it into their myths as the resting place of ancestors. A hush of a world where the departed simply carried on, unseen but not gone. The way a person in the next room is unseen, but not gone from you. Children were told it was smooth as a held breath, or that it cradled a garden no one living had walked through, or that it kept, low and unhurried, the other half of every story, the near side, only began. Sailors far from land sometimes spoke of it as a second harbor, one they would never make port in, and old astronomers before telescopes could help them scribbled guesses in the margins of star charts, half science and half hope, unwilling to leave the question blank. None of it was true in the way a fact is true. All of it was true in the way that longing is true, the honest, unhurried shape of a mind reaching toward a place it loves but cannot reach, filling the dark with something gentler than the not knowing. And it is worth noticing, drifting here in the low hours of the night, how differently people have always treated an unseen thing, depending on what they expect to find there. A locked room down an unfamiliar hallway can gather dread simply from being closed. But the back of a lamp gathers none, because you already know its shape by knowing its front. Because you trust the maker who built it, because absence of sight is not the same as absence of safety. The far side of the moon has always belonged to that second, gentler category. Even in an age before anyone could prove it, folklore, after all, rarely invents monsters for the parts of the sky it already loves. It invents companions instead. Gardens. Rest. It took a very long time for wonder to become want, and want to become a plan. Astronomers, once they understood the choreography of the locked moon, once they knew with certainty that a whole hemisphere sat turned away from every telescope ever built on Earth, began to dream, not of conquering that hidden ground, but of listening to it. Because tucked inside the simple fact of the far side's permanent turning was a second, quieter fact. That hemisphere is the one place inside our entire solar neighborhood that never faces Earth, and so it is the one place that never receives Earth's endless, overlapping hum of radio noise every broadcast, every signal, every low electrical murmur our civilization has ever sent skyward, all of it washing constantly over the near side and never once reaching the far. To a scientist listening for the very faintest whispers left over from the infancy of the universe, signals so soft that even the ordinary chatter of home drowns them out completely, that far hemisphere began to look like something almost unimaginably rare. A shielded room, built by nothing more than geometry and time, where the deepest, oldest quiet in the whole of near space simply waits, undisturbed, for an instrument patient enough to hear it. Imagine that for a moment, the way you might imagine turning down every last light in a house until only the one bedside glow remains, an entire hemisphere, roughly 40% of a whole world, kept naturally hushed of every voice but the stars. Not because anyone designed it that way, but because that is simply what happens on the back of a locked object, turned steadily away from the source of all the noise. Every radio station and satellite ping and household signal Earth has ever leaked into its own sky rolls endlessly across the near side, an ocean of overlapping frequencies too loud, in radio terms, for the faintest ancient murmur to ever swim through it. Cross to the far side, though, and all of that simply stops. The way a hallway's noise stops the moment a door swings shut behind you, leaving only the low native hush of rock and vacuum and starlight, undisturbed by anything a human hand ever built. Astronomers did not dream of a monument out there, or a flag, or a claim. They dreamed of an observatory small enough to sit unnoticed in a crater, dishes tucked below the rim, like a lamp shaded from the rest of the room, listening for the birth cries of the first galaxies, for radio whispers so ancient and so faint that Earth itself, with all its lights left on, could never let them through. Those whispers, if anyone could ever catch them, would carry news from a time before the first stars had even finished gathering themselves out of the dark, a kind of message left over from the universe's own first hours, patient beyond any patience we usually imagine, waiting there simply because nothing had ever been loud enough, on that hidden hemisphere, to drown it out. It is, in its own way, one of the tenderest ambitions in the whole history of looking upward, not to conquer the dark, but to finally sit inside its stillness and hear what it has been keeping safe. But that dream needed a foundation the folklore alone could never provide, and the observatory needed, before anything else, simply a photograph, proof that the far side had a shape at all. A first honest look at the back of the lamp to replace every garden and every twin moon that longing had ever imagined there. For all those centuries, the far side had lived only as a story people told each other in the absence of evidence, patient and low, waiting the way a held breath waits, the way the night itself waits before it finally, at its own unhurried pace, lets you see. Every generation before this one had to be content with wondering. They left their guesses folded into songs and star charts and bedtime tales, and passed the not knowing forward like something gently inherited. A question too large for any one lifetime to answer alone. And yet the not knowing was never unhappy. There is a particular kind of comfort in a mystery that asks nothing of you, that simply waits there, unthreatening. For whenever curiosity is ready to catch up to it, the far side never demanded to be seen, never pressed on anyone's dreams the way an unpaid debt might. It only remained, low and constant, exactly where it had always been, exactly as it always would be, until someone finally found a way to look. The astronomers kept dreaming. The listeners kept listening, in their minds if nowhere else yet, tuning their imagined instruments toward a silence they had never actually heard. And somewhere in the unhurried turning of decades, quietly, patiently, the tools finally caught up to the wondering, and it became possible, at last, to send something small and mechanical out past the curve of that locked hemisphere, and simply look back. And for most of human history, that was the whole story. The unlit back of the lamp stayed exactly where longing had left it, imagined but untouched, and nobody minded very much. Because a face that has never been seen cannot be missed the way a face that vanishes is missed. It simply waited. It waited through every era of people lying on their backs in fields and doorways, watching the same familiar pattern of gray seas swim past overhead, never once suspecting how different the reverse of that pattern would look. It waited through centuries of careful drawings made by candlelight, through early telescopes lifted toward that one known face again and again, mapping the same visible seas and highlands over and over, because there was, quite simply, nothing else of the moon to map. The far side asked nothing of anyone. It kept its own quiet hours, lit by the same sun, untroubled by attention, while below it generation after generation of watchers slept and woke and slept again, never once needing it to be otherwise. And then, one autumn, the long waiting came, at last, to its end. It happened first with a small Soviet spacecraft called Luna 3, sent looping out and around in 1959, close enough to the far side to catch it in a camera, and patient enough to hold that image until it could be developed and scanned and sent home across the dark. The pictures that came back were grainy, soft at the edges, more like a memory than a photograph, the kind of image you might picture behind closed eyes after someone describes a place to you in a low voice. But grainy was enough. For the first time, human eyes, however indirectly, however blurred, rested on the unlit back of the lamp, and it was not a void. It was ground. It was texture. It was simply more moon, catching the same sun the near side had always known, just turned a little further from us than we could ever turn our own heads to see. Think of that word patient for a moment, because it belongs here more than almost anywhere else in this story. Patience is what carried this whole discovery forward, in increments too small to notice from any single night, the way frost gathers on a window while you sleep and is simply there, complete, by morning. No one glimpsed the far side by accident, the way you might glimpse the back of a chair by walking around a room. It took calculation and distance and years of small machines traveling farther than any hand could reach, each one adding a little more detail to a picture that had begun as a single blurred photograph and would, slowly, become a map. Consider what it must have felt like, in the rooms where those first pictures were received, to watch an unfamiliar coastline of light and shadow steadily resolve out of static, line by line, like a face emerging from fog. Nobody in that room had ever seen those shapes before. Not in any drawing, not in any dream, because there had never been any way to dream them accurately. Every guess anyone had made about the far side, in all the centuries before, had simply been the near side's familiar geography, assumed to repeat itself around the curve. It didn't. The far side had been keeping its own particular shape the whole time, patient and unremarked, and now, finally, it was being allowed to show it. Almost a decade after those first grainy frames, 3 people did something no one in the whole span of human watching had ever done. In December of 1968, the crew of Apollo 8 circled the moon, and as their spacecraft slid behind its curve, out of contact, out of the sun's light on that side, they became the first human beings to see the far side of the moon with their own eyes, rather than through the patient relay of a camera and a radio signal. Picture that for a moment, gently, the way you might picture watching a familiar object turn on a table until a side you never expected finally comes into view. 3 people, sealed in a small hushed capsule, watched the unlit back of that lamp roll past their windows in real time, close enough to feel almost touchable, and then watched their own Earth rise back into view a little while later. Small and blue and entirely alone in that black sky. It is worth resting on that stillness, that hush of 3 people simply looking. No camera between them and the ground below. Nothing left to interpret but their own wordless astonishment. After that, it was no longer a question of whether the far side could be seen, only a question of how thoroughly it could be known. Orbiters followed, one patient pass after another, spacecraft with names now folded into history, circling and circling, each pass adding a few more lines to the map, a few more shadows filled in, a few more craters given their true shape instead of a guess. This is not the kind of work that happens in a single dramatic instant. It happens the way a room slowly grows familiar to you after many nights in it, edges softening from unknown to known simply through repeated, unhurried attention. Radar swept the surface. Cameras logged altitude and light and shadow, cataloging the Great Basin, the crowded highlands, the pale rough terrain, until the far side stopped being a rumor and became, instead, simply the other half of a world we had already been living beside for as long as there had been eyes to look up. Each of those long orbital passes was its own small act of devotion, really, if you let yourself think of it that way. A spacecraft asks nothing for itself. It only turns and watches and sends home whatever falls within its steady, unblinking view, night after night after night, until enough passes have accumulated that a full and faithful map can finally be drawn. There is something worth borrowing from that rhythm as you lie here now. The idea that understanding does not require urgency, that a thing can be known completely simply by being returned to, patiently and often, for as long as it takes. And then, in January of 2019, something happened that had never happened before in the entire history of any spacecraft from any nation. A small craft named Chang 4 descended, unhurried and precise, and came to rest directly on the far side's ancient, cratered ground. Inside that same vast old basin carved so long ago, it predates almost everything else we know of the solar system's early violence. Nothing had ever landed there. No wheels, no legs, no human tool of any kind had ever touched that particular unlit face before that hushed arrival. And because the far side, cradled as it is by the whole bulk of the moon itself, cannot speak directly to Earth, cannot send so much as a whisper straight home across that solid curve of rock, the mission needed a relay, a listener stationed further out in space, patient and steady, whose entire job was to catch the lander's faint signal and carry it around the curve to waiting ears back home. That relay was named Kechow, after an old story of a bridge made of magpies, laid across a distance so that 2 things separated by something vast could still, somehow, reach each other. Isn't that a lovely thought to rest on, just before sleep? A bridge of birds, holding a signal steady across the dark, so that a small, steady lander on the far side of the moon could still say, "I am here," and be heard. Even after that landing, the watching did not stop, because watching, in this particular story, was never meant to have a finish line. More missions have been proposed and dreamed of since, more instruments imagined for that hidden ground, because the far side's own deep hush, the same radio stillness that shielded it from every human broadcast, is exactly what makes it so valuable to listen from. Somewhere in the plans of people who study the very first light of the universe, that unlit hemisphere keeps appearing again and again, not as an obstacle, but as an invitation, a shielded room where the faintest, oldest signals in existence might finally be heard without our own noise drowning them out. Nothing about that invitation has been rushed. It has simply been kept, the way a good idea is kept for the right night, waiting its turn among all the other patient work still being done. None of this happened quickly. None of it happened by force. It happened the way real understanding usually happens, through years of small returning craft, small returning signals, small returning frames of grainy light, each one adding its own soft brushstroke to a picture that took the whole of the last century to complete. Telescopes waited on Earth. Probes waited in orbit. Engineers waited through long nights of silence for a single ping to confirm that a lander had safely touched down on ground no one had ever stood on. That is the quality worth carrying with you now, more than any single fact among the many you have gathered tonight, the sense that even the most hidden thing, even the truest dark, yields eventually not to force, but to unhurried attention, to people willing to wait for a signal, to send a small patient machine around a bridge of relayed light and let it simply look, and look, and look, until the unlit back of the lamp became, at last, just another tenderly mapped and well-known part of the same familiar room we have always been sleeping in. Tonight has been about the lamp we know, and the twin half we rarely think of, and how dark was never the same as dangerous, only unseen, only turned away, only resting for now, the way the back of any lamp rests, night after night, without ever once needing to be looked at, without ever once being any less whole for it. Tonight has been about the gentle turning, that month-long, unhurried spin that keeps one face toward us and the other out of view, no different from how you might turn over in your sleep tonight and never once notice the motion. Tonight has been about the true night side, that far and pale landscape, cratered and even, doing nothing more dramatic than every shadowed thing on Earth already does, waiting its turn for light, the way the underside of a leaf waits, the way the back of your own hand waits, pressed now into the mattress. And tonight has been about our smallness and our reach, small enough to have wondered about that hidden face for the whole span of human history, and reaching, eventually, far enough to see it, patient machines carrying faint, steady eyes past the curve of the world and back again, so that a picture once impossible now hangs, ordinary and framed, in the memory of everyone who has ever looked up at only half a face and wondered about the rest. None of this needs anything from you tonight. You do not need to remember which region came first, or hold on to a single fact, or even follow me all the way to the end of this sentence. The moon will keep turning at its own unhurried pace, whether you are awake to picture it or not, and its far side will keep resting in its long, ordinary darkness, the way it always has, long before there was anyone here to wonder about it, and long after. It does not need you to remember its craters, or its long, strange nights, or the names of the machines that once photographed it. It only needs to keep turning, and it will, patiently, without effort, without asking. Another peaceful exploration is already waiting for you on the screen, ready to begin on its own in a moment. So there is nothing to choose and nothing to decide. You can simply let it start, and let it carry you further, or let your eyes stay closed, and let the sound alone be enough. Before you go, here is something to loosen into, not to answer, if you could stand, just once, on that hidden ground, in that long, real dark, on the one place in all the solar system that never sees this Earth rise in its sky. What do you imagine you would feel there, held in that hush, under that unfamiliar spray of stars? You don't have to answer. You don't have to imagine anything more than a breath. Let that thought drift off on its own, the way the far side drifts around and around, unseen and unbothered, held in its patient orbit by nothing more than habit and time. Feel the weight of the blanket. Feel the mattress holding you the way it always has. Let your breathing grow long and low, each exhale a little further from thinking, a little closer to nothing at all. There is a whole hidden hemisphere of you, two low, unlit places doing their own ordinary work that you never have to watch over, that have carried on quite well without your attention for every night of your life so far. Let them rest. Let your face grow calm. Let your thoughts turn the way the moon turns, slowly, out of view, out of reach, out of mind, one long unhurried revolution into sleep. Sleep well.